Meet me after slashing your wrist, or at the end if you so insist. I'm persistent when told to cease and desist with this blasphemous shit.
Hello, Chalet. And it's been a bit quiet, but we've got a lot coming. We've got some surprises for you soon. Don't forget, if you're new here, please press the subscribe and hit the like and all that. Even if you don't like it, please just. I've got kids to feed. I can only afford one shoe each. Christmas coming up, and I've been making them run around the house to keep warm. We're not having a Christmas turkey this year. We're probably gonna have Christmas roadkill if we can find some. It's hard. It's hard times in England at the moment. I'm having to imagine warmth. So let's try and distract ourselves with some casual geographics. And in case you're wondering who this pretty motherfucker is, it's me. And in case you're wondering who this pretty mopo is, it's my son. A bit of random info. Come on, casual. Come on, casual.
Okay, I pull up, hop out at the after party. You and all your friends say they love to get naughty.
Hi. Good morning.
Ma'am? Sorry, man, you okay? No, I'm trying to finish. Everybody has a different playing style.
Fun. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere at any time at all. And I appreciate how that song spells out fire, not fun, and we all just collectively accepted that. But fun isn't just a human construct that man, or a talking sponge, invented. Nah, plenty of animals have ways of having a good time. Take wolves for example. Wolves are social animals, so it makes sense that they'd use play to strengthen bonds in the pack. Wolves in the wild will do things like play tug of war, or try to get others to chase them. And it's not just the pups doing it, the adults get in on it too. They even have a specific way of inviting others to play. A play bow is like the wolf version of a friend request, and it's a signal that they want others to get in on the games. And if you don't believe me, play bow in front of your dog and watch how fast you get his undivided attention. Because dogs are all about play. It's why stronger dogs will actively hold back and restrain themselves just to keep their playmate engaged in the games going. It's called self-handicapping, and you'll often see it with male puppies letting physically weaker female puppies win. They know what they're doing. They know, and if you've ever had a girlfriend, you do too. I'll tell you what, coyotes sure do. But adult wolves rarely self-handicap because they rarely nerf themselves on purpose. But I'll tell you one thing dogs did get from wolves: fetch. That's right, we didn't come up with that. In an experiment in Stockholm University in Sweden, researchers hand-raised a litter of puppies, making sure to get them comfortable with their presence, but not playing with them. And at 8 weeks old, they brought in a person the wolf pups had never seen before to administer a series of tests. One of those tests involved tossing a tennis ball, and to the shock of the scientists, some of the wolf pups actually retrieved the ball and returned it to them. Remember, we're talking about wolves here. Wolves that hadn't been trained or motivated to do that. They basically just freestyled the game of fetch. Not all the wolf pups did this, but understanding human cues was thought to be a domestic dog thing, so realistically none of them should have. We didn't teach dogs fetch, it was already programmed into their software. But if we didn't teach them, who did? Well, maybe ravens, because we've already talked about the wolf-raven relationship arc. But ravens have been seen seemingly playing with specific puppies in the pack. They'll play tug of war with sticks. The ravens will do things like tease them to get the wolf pups to chase after them. And sometimes the ravens will even fly over them with sticks to get them to jump. These childhood games are probably how ravens and wolves can form legitimate emotional bonds. And it actually makes a lot of sense that this kind of thing would happen, since wolves are social pack animals and ravens are one of the most playful things with wings while also having the intelligence of a small child. Because you're gonna see, the smarter an animal is, the more playful they usually are. And that's because play typically comes down to two things: manipulating the objects around you and interacting with others. Two things that do require intelligence. Like take bees, probably the most intelligent eusocial insect out there. Well, in an experiment in the Queen Mary University in London, scientists built a setup where bees had a choice: take a path leading directly to food, or explore a path with an obstacle course of tiny wooden balls. And to add to that, one side had wooden balls that were fixed in place, while the others were loose and could be rolled around. Not only did every bee choose the ball path, every single one tried rolling a ball at least once. Some of the bees even went right back after eventually stopping for food. And to make it even more interesting, it was actually the juvenile bees that spent the most time ball rolling. So yeah, that's actually how he found out bees can play. But the question is, what other insects can? Well,
Wait. Haven't they got more important things to do at St. Mary's than figure out if bees like to play with little balls? I'm sure we still got to find a cure for cancer and all that. Good to see your that's time well spent. I always think that when I hear about weird experiments, because not everyone can solve cancer. Some people can only see if bees play with balls. Bees bounce balls.
can probably rule out ants, and here's why. It's not because they're not smart enough to goof off and play games. It's because they probably get murked by the queen before they have enough time to figure it out. Because an ant colony runs like an efficient engine, and any part not doing their part gets turned into past tense. And queen ants are crazy cutthroat, like to the point where they'll actively sabotage their own colony just to keep themselves higher in power. The trade-off is the ant colony is a militia that's capable of cutting down animals hundreds of times their size. And in a game like the Ants Underground Kingdom, you get to personally watch an ant colony over crows and ravens, definitely are. And it goes way beyond weaponizing wolves. Because as cute as this may be, and it really is, you could argue that keeping wolves close is in their best interest. But then there's this, a raven using a plastic lid as a sled to slide down snowy hills. And then you have this raven sliding down the roof of a public library.
Did you see how many lines there were?
Or at least trying to. And they have nothing to gain from doing this. This is unrewarded play, and basically it means, yeah, they're not doing a raven using a plastic lid as a sled to slide down snowy hills. And then you have this raven sliding down the roof of a public library. Or at least trying to. And they have nothing to gain from doing this. This is unrewarded play, and basically it means, yeah, they're not doing it for survival or anything, they're just doing it to have a good time. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. For a bird whose group name is an unkindness, ravens and really corvids in general are probably the most playful birds on the planet. It's why you'll see them actively mess with other animals just for the memes, even if it means instigating a literal catfight for their own entertainment. So next time you're wondering how animals have fun, I want you to remember this snowboarding crow. Or you can think of this self-tobogganing otter. River otters in Yellowstone have been seen getting a running start and snow surfing down icy slopes. Now, first scientists just figured it was their way of getting around. That theory fell apart when they watched the river otters run back up the slope like kids at a water park, only to slide back down. And that goes back to river otters in Yellowstone, even if it means instigating a literal catfight for their own entertainment. So next time you're wondering how animals have fun, I want you to remember this snowboarding crow. Or you can think of this self-tobogganing otter. River otters in Yellowstone have been seen getting a running start and snow surfing down icy slopes. Now, first scientists just figured it was their way of getting around. That theory fell apart when they watched the river otters run back up the slope like kids at a water park, only to slide back down. And that goes back to unrewarded play because the otters don't gain anything but a good time. And FOMO for otters is a real thing because you're more likely to see them sliding as a group than just solo. And like ravens, you can almost see how intelligence and playfulness almost goes hand in hand, especially since otters are considered to be the most intelligent of all mustelids, being part of the special class of animals that are able to use tools, to the point where river otters will seem to juggle rocks when they get excited. No, like seriously, we had no idea why they were doing this until researchers at a zoo noticed they started juggling rocks more when it got closer to their feeding time. We still don't know exactly what it is about food that makes otters start juggling rocks, but sometimes you need to just take a moment to stop asking why just to enjoy what's in front of you. Like, why do crocodiles like the color pink?
Out of snacks? Get Doritos in minutes.
You've got it. Get here.
Did you know children aged 13 to 15 are given private accounts as a default on TikTok?
Like, why do crocodiles like the color pink? Because according to anecdotal observations, crocodilians seem to have a pink preference, favoring tossing around small objects that look like the result of a red-white affair. It's why the prehistoric predator that's been terrorizing the planet for hundreds of millions of years can be seen picking pink flowers with its jaws. Crocs apparently have other ways of having fun. They'll take turns going down natural water slides and swim right back up and do it again. They'll give each other piggyback rides, just cuz. And there's even a story where animal behavior expert Vladimir Dene claimed to witness an alligator seemingly play with a group of river otters in Big Cypress in Florida because Florida. You know, I'm not even kidding. He has a whole paper on play behavior in crocodilians, and he talks about watching river otters regularly visit one specific gator and mess with him by getting close to him, nipping at his tail, and even splashing water on his head. Most gators would respond to this by just submerging, but this one gator played along by lunging at the otters. I know what you're probably thinking, and to that, I give you this. At one point, one of the otters slipped down the bank and was immediately grabbed by the gator. But instead of making an example out of it, the prehistoric merc machine just released it perfectly unharmed. It was like a game that both of them were in on. And unlike wolves and ravens, gators and otters have legitimate beef in some parts. But like I said, sometimes you need to forget about the why and just enjoy the what. And what happened was, these games went on for a couple days until the marsh eventually dried up and the alligators and otters both moved on. That's not the only example of crocodilians at play, that just happens to be the best one I got. Another time was when a gator found a football in his swamp, and instead of easily popping it, it seemed to toy with it by grabbing it with his jaws and tossing it around. You know, I could 100% use this to make a Florida Gators joke, but at this point I think it would be low-hanging fruit. But crocodiles and alligators being playful goes right in line with the intelligence point I made earlier. Despite having a brain in the weight class of a walnut, crocodilians are much more intelligent than they get credit for. Unlike dolphins, who get all of the credit for it. Now you probably know dolphins like to have fun. The problem is, most of their pastimes would probably get this video age restricted with the quickness. Like for example, when 2 Amazon River dolphins were seen playing with a Benny anaconda. I put playing in quotes because both dolphins were visibly aroused, and the snake ended up flatlining, likely to drowning. And you know, knowing what I know about dolphins, that's probably what got them excited. Because most dolphin fun comes at someone's expense. I can repeat that same sentence without the fun and it'd still be accurate. I give you Exhibit A. But dolphins can have fun in safer work ways too. They'll take turns chasing each other in games that can last hours. They'll find random objects to carry around and even play catch with. Oh, and a little fun fact for you. One of a dolphin's favorite things to play with includes sargassum seaweed. Researchers actually watched dolphins in the Bahamas play a kind of keep-away game with the seaweed. But the best part was the dolphins were used to being around humans, and eventually they invited the researchers to play with them. And no amount of scientific integrity would stop any of us from saying no. Dolphins have also been seen surfing the bow waves produced by ships, sometimes for miles on end. And it's not like they just do it to save energy. A group of spinner dolphins actually memorized the path scientists on a boat would take. So every morning the spinner dolphins would show up and ride the bow wave as the scientists traveled to their site. The dolphins would leave for a bit, but then return and do the exact same thing when the scientists started heading back. So yeah, it's really no surprise that the smartest thing in the ocean can be as playful as a child, because honestly they're probably as smart as one. So smart that many believe that dolphins will
I knew like they were smart and I knew they were brandy, but I didn't know sadomasochism was a proper thing for them, bruv. Getting aroused by murder. Wow! That's Ted Bundy. You know, the more I hear about dolphins, the more I'm like, they're not for me. Fuck no. And these times we hate killer whales.
purposely seek out pufferfish just to get them elevated. Apparently the tetrodotoxin that can discharge you from the population in minutes has something of a narcotic effect in small doses, to the point where people will swear by seeing dolphins take turns passing the puffer until they're all stuck on its product. And if dolphins were humans, they definitely—
Okay, I'll change my mind. Sorry, okay. Puff, puff, pass. Puff, puff, give. Puff, puff, give. Literally with a puff, puff. Yo, Cat, what do you do?
I know the rules, puff, puff. I see you've been to a seminar yourself. So
Yeah, I might be able to live with this sadomasochism.
be the ones huffing markers in class. By the way, you really shouldn't do that. But dolphins are far from the only ones that get elevated and hella faded. It's believed that cats will eat grass and leaves because they contain folic acid, which helps move oxygen around the blood. Plus, when they throw it up, it helps clean out their system. So it shouldn't be a surprise to see the biggest cat in America chewing on leaves. What's surprising is that it seems to put the jaguar in a trance and even induces kitten-like behavior, to the point where people believe that this apex predator will go out of its way to chew on leaves from the Yaji. And in doing so, they book a flight on the same plane as Joe Rogan. Scientists can't say for sure just why jaguars will go to these lengths to get zooted. Many natives will tell you that jaguars do it to buff their perception and senses, which heightens their hunting abilities. We don't know if the plants even affect them like that, but let's be real. We all know that look. That boy is gone. If your child ever came home looking like this, you definitely give them a talking to. So it's in my non-professional opinion that jaguars will purposely get off one when they're not busy hunting for a living. Cause when nothing in the jungle can press you, you can afford to. Not the case for pandas though, they gotta take licks from everybody. That doesn't stop them from being a walking viral clip every time they're on camera. But there's actually a reason why you can make an entire playlist on pandas being cute. Mother pandas usually only raise one baby at a time. If she pops out twins then it's all good for Mary Kay, but it might be up for Ashley. For most of a young panda's life, its only playmate is its mother. So when keepers hand raise baby pandas and the baby pandas imprint on them, this is what happens, because this is what they do with their actual mothers. Another thing pandas like to go viral for is their very much one-sided beef with gravity in the form of falling out of trees. Well, like I said, a lot of animals can pack up pandas, especially when they're young, so their only option is to climb, which very much makes trees their safe haven. They climb to avoid predators. They climb to avoid other pandas. They'll even sometimes go through the process of making another panda in the trees. Trees are so important that young pandas instinctively love climbing. So much that many believe that the reason pandas like to hug their caretakers' legs is because they see human legs as trees and honestly can't help themselves. And while this might be fun for them, this is actually a form of rewarded play, since climbing ends up being a massive part of their life. But so does rolling around, and there might be a reason for that too. First of all, panda bones are really thick and this is actually a form of rewarded play, since it's so important that young pandas instinctively love climbing. So much that many believe that the reason pandas like to hug their caretakers' legs is because they see human legs as trees and honestly can't help themselves. And while this might be fun for them, this is actually a form of rewarded play, since climbing ends up being a massive part of their lives. Like to hug their caretakers' legs is because they see human legs as trees and honestly can't help themselves. And while this might be fun for them, this is actually a form of rewarded play, since climbing ends up being a massive part of their life. But so does rolling around, and there might be a reason for that too. First of all, panda bones are weirdly thick and heavy for their size, so the falls and tumbles they take don't—
That's fucking hilarious. The legs, the little dangling legs. Nah, man, what are you talking about? Gangster, innit? Yeah, I did nearly just break my phone.
hurt them nearly as much as you'd expect them to. Also, pandas are nearsighted, so it's possible they legitimately can't see what's in front of their faces. But many scientists believe pandas just enjoy rolling around, like to the point where mothers will often join their cubs doing it. They're not the only bears that can be playful. Polar bears can actually be just as goofy, it's just that pandas are a lot less likely to John Wick a human for food. Polar bears can form friendships where they eat, travel, and play together, and these relationships can last years. Their favorite way to bond is by wrestling, and like with dogs, a stronger polar bear will often self-handicap and let the smaller bear win. And also like with dogs, polar bears have their own way of asking for permission to play too. In their case, a polar bear will move its head from side to side to initiate a friendly sparring session. These pair bonds usually last a summer until they eventually go their separate ways for the harsh winter season. But time and time again, scientists have seen the same polar bear friends reuniting after breeding season and carrying on like nothing ever happened. And honestly, I feel like most adult friendships go just like that. As in, you can go months without speaking or hearing from each other, but you can also link up and go on like they never left. But of course, polar bears know how to have fun by themselves too. Polar bears have been seen sliding down hills or across ice for hours for no reason other than having fun. So basically, even the biggest land predators on the planet know how to have a good time. But what about the biggest land animal, period? Well, it turns out, having fun is actually an important part of an elephant's life, and males and females are different in how they do it. Young males love roughhousing and play fighting, which actually helps prepare them for a future of running fades for female validation. This natural playful aggression is why you'll often see young male calves chasing around other animals. Hold on, wait for it. And there it is. That's what it looks like for a baby elephant to throw a tantrum. Fun for young females usually involves thrashing around vegetation, sticks, bones, and anything else they can wrap their trunks around. But the ultimate sign of elephant fun is something they do called the floppy run. And it's exactly what it sounds like. When elephants really get excited, they'll shake their heads from side to side, they'll let their trunks hang loose and their ears flap in the wind, and they'll just run, all while trumpeting. It's usually calves and young teenagers that get floppy with it, but sometimes the whole herd gets involved. But considering half an elephant's time is spent in the water, then it makes sense that half their fun happens in there too. And if you've ever seen elephants playing in the water, it's actually wild how much they look like kids in a pool. There's something really satisfying about watching a 12,000-pound vibe tech splashing around in water like a child. And often they'll spray water at each other or sometimes even other animals just for the sport of it. And in this case, other animals can very much include humans. But all this lighthearted fun might actually be crucial to their survival. You see, some studies say that the most playful elephant calves grow up to be the ones best at coping with environmental stress, which increases their chances of survival. Again, we don't know if this is 100% true, but like I said, sometimes you need to just forget about why and just enjoy watching a baby elephant take a shower. But that's gonna do it for this video. I want to thank you all so much for the support this year, it really does mean a lot. And best believe, I got a lot more stuff planned for 2023. But for now, happy holidays, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Get you. You probably will.
Oh, the other two, they just switch swim positions, that's all.
Oh, let's give up.
I can't take animals. I cannot take them. What do your animals do? Have you got anybody that does anything mad? My friend, she used to, or he still does, but I noticed him one day. I was on the laptop and I noticed him noticing the cursor. Okay, so I was doing that a little bit. And then one day I had one of them measurer things, but it had a laser on it, the laser measure. And bro, the moment I pulled it out, his life changed forever. His life changed forever. Oh my God, we would be in the corridor just up and down. And he just loved the chase. He didn't want to catch it. He would charge, slam into the door at one end, and then try and catch it again. And because I've mostly got wood flooring, so it's just and the other thing he loves to do is see animals on TV. Bro, like, what's that show? Caesar. That show. But then I started thinking, like, sometimes maybe he understands when a dog's distressed because he goes quiet sometimes. It's mad. And the rabbits are kind of the same. They don't play. They get this weird burst of energy and they just splat. Just pew. And then the girl one likes humping her. She's got a little football. She humps it all the time. And then sometimes she goes over to the boy rabbit and just starts humping his head. And you can see his little face at the... You just see like a little bit of him. Anyway, in the comments, please.